Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Scorpio pre-full moon um, meditation. The actual full moon is tomorrow, and it will be at 12:05:05, a little afternoon GMT. 12 o'clock and 5 minutes and 5 seconds. GMT, or Universal Time, and Tuya will be offering the an exact moment broadcast, and you can see that in your chat box there with the appropriate link. So you can copy that link if you don't have it already, and we will begin at 10:30 a.m. GMT. We're dealing with the sign Scorpio, and in a way I think we're passing through a very scorpionic period of human history where the results of our decisions in Libra will be either defeat or triumph in Scorpio. And we trust that the disciples of the world will rise to the occasion, especially during the next 10 years of very great stress before the year 2025, when we are told that the hierarchical plans for the externalization of the hierarchy will actually be laid down with some exactitude. You know how it was 100 years ago. The hierarchy pretty well had to wait until World War I was over in 1918 before the real outpouring through the messenger of the hierarchy, Master DK, began, and that was in 1919 with Alice Bailey. So I think we can imagine that the next number of years before 2025 will be years of decision in which all of us individually as disciples must find out what it means to triumph within our own nature, and to triumph as a group. I guess it's a testing period, a very great test, and it will call for all we have built into ourselves during our years of meditation and study and service. This is a very Martian sign, as we see. It's about battle. The sign brings in the fourth ray of harmony through conflict, but it also, I think, hidden within the sign Scorpio is the first ray as well. Not only through the planet Pluto, but I think coming through the constellation. Master DK, I think, does not give all of the rays that come through the constellations. He gives maybe the most prominent ones, and Scorpio is certainly the most prominent fourth ray sign at this time. But the first ray is definitely there, and we get some idea of that when we look at what's called the cosmic decanates, and certain of the signs of our zodiac are associated with so-called cosmic decanates, and the Hercules, the great triumphant warrior, who is the first ray being, is assigned to the Scorpio decanate, and it therefore suggests the first ray, the Christ in Pisces, as the second ray, and the Buddha in Taurus as the third ray, because his monad is on the third ray. We see a double rulership of Mars here, both exoterically and esoterically, and finally the great illuminating intuitive power of Mercury comes into prominence as we become truly accepted disciples and enter the stage of true initiation, where we can regularly access the intuitive levels where Mercury rules. Our mantra, of course, we can pretty well repeat it to ourselves this entire month, and try to live by it, whatever it may mean for any one of us or for our groups. Warrior am I. And from the battle I emerge triumphant. We all have our own battles, don't we? I mean, we, just like St. Paul, we haven't necessarily cleared all of them out of the way, and they occur in the lead up to every one of the initiations, first, second, and third, different tests of the Hydra, which our lower nature is. So, if anybody here has conquered all of his dragons, let me know. And it's just when we think we have that we may be facing the dragon of pride, which is one of the heads of the Hydra, which is last to be conquered. Over here is the Joffre illustration, always very rich. Of course, the big red scorpion is in the middle, but if we rise to the occasion, we can become the triumphant eagle, which we see flying above. All of us are, in a way, Saint George. We have to conquer our old lower dragon, the old devil, so to speak, and become eventually the dragon of wisdom, or a lesser dragon of wisdom, which a master of the wisdom is. The true dragon of wisdom is the planetary Logos himself. And this we do by concentrating our powers in a yogic manner, learning the art of transmutation leading to transformation, and finally to transfiguration. Really, Scorpio is involved in all the three lower initiations, 1, 2, and 3, and in an interesting way in the fourth initiation, because it has so much to do with death. I just noticed that the Platonic solid, the dodecahedron, is here, the 12 of the completed zodiac, and the 5 the pentagrams, 12 different pentagrams, 12 different faces, and they represent the soul. So it's through Scorpio, one of the major signs through which we enter the hierarchy, along with Capricorn. Here we have the whole idea of renewal and the triumph over death, and we might even say that the Christ child within us conquers death. This was an idea that Tuya brought forward the other day, a couple of days ago, for the Scorpio ingress. Here is the chalice as well. The chalice of our lower nature is empty now, and it's turned over, and it is no longer effective. But the chalice of our soul and spirit nature is glowing with the alchemical light. The light of life is within it, and that's what we want to become, the upright chalice. And as we spurn and so to speak, repel the lower chalice that we have for so long identified with. So, we all have to become as wise as serpents. This is the serpentine sign. But there are lower serpents and lower dragons, and higher serpents and higher dragons. And we certainly learn what is high and low when we deal with the sign Scorpio. There's always something hiding in our nature for a long time, the dweller on the threshold, as it's called. And even when that dweller is the integrated personality itself, it's even more difficult to conquer, because then it has achieved many, many things and looks very, very good, and it's hard to sacrifice that, So in the story in the Bible, the rich young man of the third initiation goes sadly away because he cannot sacrifice all of his attainments. He cannot really empty the chalice for the sake of others completely and give up the attainments that he's holding close to himself. But we all learn eventually that much greater things lie ahead, and so as Master Morya says, that when we face death, it should be no more threatening than simply to snip a hair off your head. It's quite a first-rate perspective, isn't it? And maybe one day we will all have that kind of perspective. Francis Donald, as usual, has given us some very helpful images. Two images particularly for Scorpio. One is called Ascension, and the other is called the Phoenix. I don't have time to go through all that he has said. It's very rich indeed, and I hope that can be sent to you. He would like for for that to happen. This one is called Ascension, and I think we see here the Ancient One who is drowned. We see the waters of Maya and illusion. We see the aspiring disciple who is rising onto the fixed cross, and we see the winged heart in a way which is going to lead him to the fourth initiation. We see two towers, one of which is illuminated. We see the great sign, the great star, Sirius, above the whole. And there is a very deep connection, a triangle between Sirius, Scorpio, and Mars, bringing in the Sirian energy. The Sirian energy is never easy. You think about that beautiful star, but it's a star which causes a great deal of struggle in the aspiring human being and a tremendous purification. And I think Francis means to say that this is, well, maybe the planet Mars rising above the horizon, and the sun is in the heart. I'll read what he has to say. Oh, by the way, don't overlook this little scorpion who's scampering away down here in all of the swampy areas of our life. So let's see. This is these are the notes here that he included in this month's image. The full moon. Aha, maybe it's the full moon that reveals a pivotal moment in the long series of incarnations of our Scorpio native. He has risen from the ancient Mayavic waters to mount the fixed cross. The cross of discipleship it is, and all of us should be on that cross, or at least transferring from the latter part of the mutable cross onto the fixed cross. The Tibetan master summarizes this event. The Ancient One, that is the personality, dies by drowning. Such is the test. The waters envelop him, and there is no escape. He drowns. And this is the important part here, I think. The fires of passion, which is a very Martian solar plexus, sacral center kind of thing. The fires of passion are then quenched. The life of desire ceases its appeal, and to the bottom of the lake he now descends. Later he reascends to where the white horse, i.e. Sagittarius, awaits his coming. And he says Mars, appearing just above the horizon, glows within our aspirant solar plexus. I guess we can find that. I guess we can. Yeah, there it is. There it is. It's the red. It's red. And this is the full moon that is revealing the whole scene, the moon of illumination. And here is the red in the solar plexus of our rising aspirant. It rules the trials and tests and will continue to do so until there is nothing left of his nature, of our nature, to react to its purifying influence, and then we can move on to Mercury. Then will the symbolic death, for Scorpio is the sign of death, or really a sign of death, Pisces too, then will this symbolic death be complete. Through an Herculean effort. I guess we all have to go through that, don't we? We all have to become Hercules. We all have to become eventually the triumphant disciple. This is the sign most identified with Hercules. That is the Scorpio sign. Through an Herculean effort, the 9 tests and trials of Scorpio, his passage on the outer clockwise wheel of life has steadily lost its momentum, and the inner reversed wheel increases its counter-clockwise velocity. And then I think there's a kind of a note here that says that humankind revolves clockwise through the zodiac until it steps onto the path of return, whereon the now aspirant reverses his direction on the wheel of life. So, following this great victory, warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. Our tested one, that's all of us, focuses on a source even higher than that of the fixed cross, and that would be the cardinal cross, of course, which we don't really mount fully until the 5th initiation. He lifts his gaze to Sirius, which draws him further along the path of initiation. And meanwhile, the scorpion scampers off after performing his dastardly deeds. Here he is down here. We are no longer the scorpion, we are becoming the eagle. And Francis offers some quotes here, some tidbits, which I think from DK are very good. Upon the fixed cross, stands the correctly poised man. Correctly poised. If we're going to have harmlessness, poise is a major factor. The correctly poised man right at the center where the four arms meet, and therefore at the point where the energy of all the four signs and of their ruling planets can pour through him and evoke the needed reactions, produce the conditions wherein test is possible, and so bring about the necessary reversal of the life currents. I underline that because that's what it really means to reverse the wheel. It's the reversal of the life currents within your energy system which occur when the symbol of reversing the wheel occurs. So the change of moving from below to above instead of from above to below in a man's nature, and thus place him upon the reversed wheel. So it's all a story of what's going on in our energy system. The vertical life of the man upon that cross, no matter in what sign his sun may temporarily find position, is ever Aquarius Leo. You know what the fixed cross is. It's Aquarius Leo. Well, I do it backwards, but you know, Taurus at the ascendant, then at the fourth house, so to speak, is Leo, then at the seventh house is Scorpio, then at the 10th house on that cross is Aquarius. So the vertical life of the man upon that cross, no matter in what sign his sun may find its position, is Aquarius Leo. This indicates that the self-centered individual in Leo learns the lessons of the cross and becomes decentralized. There's no spiritual progress without decentralization. We have to learn how to identify with more than our own center and recognize that our center is everywhere. So he becomes decentralized, group consciousness supervenes, and he's given to service, and eventually the whole idea of identicality and the one being the one spirit supervenes. The 9 tests, I think we're familiar with them. Before the first initiation, the tests of appetite, sex, physical comfort, and money. And then before the second initiation, we have to pass these: fear, hatred, and ambition, or the love of power for egotistical purposes. It's okay to love power for what it can do for the plan, but to love one's own personal power for what it can do for the fulfillment of our own desires, that's another matter. And then on the mental plane, before the third initiation, we have to overcome the critical lower mind, pride, separativeness, and cruelty. These are maybe some of the toughest ones to overcome. Humility enters in, and we know that the scorpionic person bends on his knees, and only thus can he raise this ancient hydra into the air of God, the true Buddhic plane, where it wilts because it cannot breathe, it cannot sustain itself. Well, there are many beautiful things that Francis will say here, and I think, you know, we can send you these. The 2 towers, one that is a light and one that is darkened, and he compares it to the tarot. I think, is it card number 16, the so-called blasted tower. It's a Martian card, and it signifies the destruction of all that is lower and the illumination of that which is higher. The drowned man and the reflected moon. This is interesting. The moon in Scorpio, it here functions in its true nature, as expressing symbolically that which is dead. For indeed the moon is dead, and has no true life of its own. It has only the life of matter, which is rather rapidly falling apart and exerting, says Madame Blavatsky, a rather nefarious influence upon the earth. So it stands for the personality, the moon does, and in the final victory in Scorpio, the personality is entirely vanquished and defeated. That's why the moon falls in Scorpio. And remember, we human beings, our hierarchy of monads is ruled by Scorpio. So it is our task to, as it were, kill off the moon, make it descend into the lower depths, and have complete freedom from it. Eventually, I think DK tells us that in the 7th round of our chain, or of our planetary scheme, depending upon what round we're talking about, the moon will have recessed from the earth, will have shrunk in its size and eventually will be entirely fragmented and dissipated. So desire is killed, for it is through expressed desire that personality demonstrates life, quality, and appearance. In Scorpio, the moon falls and its influence fades out. It's going to happen literally in terms of our literal earth and the literal moon, and it has to happen for each one of us. The moon has to fall so we can rise into our soul nature and even transcend that. The key words here, let Maya flourish and deception rule. Or warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. So deception and triumph are the two key words. And we hope that we are emerging from the deception of the lower senses, the deception of the lower nature, and into the position of the triumphant disciple. Sometimes, personally I hate to see Scorpio coming. It always means something's going to come up from the lower depths and it's going to be unpleasant. And the fourth ray in me hates that kind of thing. But on the other hand, when I think about the triumph which Scorpio represents, then I embrace the coming of Scorpio, and it really means freedom from our bondage, from our prison, from our limitations, which the moon represents, the prison house of the soul. Now, Francis also has, this is called Ascension. The first image is called Ascension, and then the Ascension gives way to another image, which is that of the Phoenix. And if you look carefully, you can see the ascending disciple in the midst of the Phoenix image. And we go from the dark reds here of Mars up into the blues and the rose-colored in the Phoenix, which represents actually the Devas, with which Master Kuthumi is said to work. The rose and the blue Devas, sort of the second and the sixth ray involved there in a higher sense. So all of us are to become this liberated phoenix. I'm not going to go too much into this. There are implications of eternity here with the ongoing trefoil, which is a kind of a movement which is eternal and continues to move. Again, Sirius is above us, and we are on our way. Maybe 80% of humanity, 85% of humanity. DK calls it the bulk of humanity is on its way to the great star Sirius, to return in the next solar system as solar angels after an intensive course of training. We have to be at least initiates of the 6th degree to take that trip, and by the time we're finished with it, we will be what's called initiates of all degrees, at least of all human degrees. But when it comes to the solar angels, they have their own system of initiation. Every hierarchy has its own system of initiation, presumably 9 initiations in every hierarchy and 7 modes of form in every creative hierarchy. So, in the trillions of years that lie ahead for this kind of process, there are many adventures which we all are going to partake of. And we simply have to learn to free ourselves from our lunar tendencies, and the defeat of those lunar tendencies, I think, occurs well in Scorpio. We have to embrace the potential of that sign to give us a liberation from all that confines us. And there we have the planet of liberation, which is Uranus, in its exalted position in this sign. So I would say that in the coming month, we have maybe, 20-something days remaining in Scorpio. Let us see what aspects of the Hydra which are particularly concerning to us, or particularly debilitating, what aspects of the Hydra we can overcome in our nature. We all have it, we wouldn't be here if we didn't, and so before we can be truly liberated initiates of the 4th degree, we have 9 major tests to overcome. What is your test? What is my test? Let's see if in the next 30 days or so a little bit less, we can make a major gain toward victory over an aspect of the Hydra which is particularly troublesome to us. Whatever range we're working in, whether it's the physical, the emotional, or the mental, or some combination of them, let us see what degree of victory we can achieve. Okay, friends. Excuse me. That will bring us, I think, now to our meditation. And all I have to do is find it. Let's see. It's here somewhere. There it is. Okay. So we are, a little more than 12 hours ahead of the meditation, and that means that we are moving from the day of dedication, the third day out of 7 of preparation. Confidence, aspiration, we're still in the day of dedication, and 12 hours beforehand we will enter the period of receiving and holding and safeguarding, and the full moon is the very center of that process, and then our distribution is demanded of us. We register what has come to us intuitively. We have that astral sense of expectancy, and then a confirmed belief within the brain manifested solidly on the physical plane. The great thing about Scorpio, is that these tests are not just mental or emotional tests. Everything has to be worked out on the physical plane in a proven manner. It's a triple sign, and that tells us that it takes in all 3 of our lower planes, including the physical plane. So it's hard to pass those tests and really make them actual, make them real in the normal sense of how we consider reality, bring them right down onto the physical plane, and then we know that we can trust ourselves. Trust ourselves. That's the important thing. And then when we can trust ourselves, then our superiors can trust us. Okay, enough talk of that nature. And we will make sure we're in a good position for meditation. Relaxed but poised and alert, and basically we want to focus on ourselves as a unit of being which has consciousness. We are immersed in a familiar domain we call the 3 lower worlds, and we think it's real, but it's only actual. Actual in Maya. We want to disidentify, in a way repel, use the law of repulse. Want to repel and no longer identify with the habitual self. So, in the old Raja Yoga sense, we have a body, but we are not the body. We have the vital electric etheric field, but it's simply our instrument. We are not that. We have our desires, our attractions, repulsions, our feelings, all those astral phenomena. But we are not those. And the lower mind, we have that too as an instrument, filled with thought, filled with activity. ever in movement, except when we manage to still it. But we are not that lower mind. In fact, we are a unit of consciousness which really is beyond time and space, as every true point is. So we allow that world to fade out, that lower world, with its false identifications, and we enter, at least imaginatively, the world of the soul. We begin to feel the spiritual light, the spiritual love that unites us, that unifies us, a spiritual will that helps us make the necessary sacrifices for the sake of the divine plan. It's as if we are all gathered on the plane of soul, which is the plane of higher mind, and we feel this sense together, not of isolation, but of a group being, a group soul. All of us in meditation together. So try to get that feeling of the group soul which unites us, no matter how geographically separate we actually are. We're not really separate at all. The difference between the actual and the real. So we are all in each other's presence. And it's as if we're all here, rather than here and there. And we unite in soul, with the members of the new group of world servers, somehow we are all connected, those of us who seek to serve our fellow human beings, and with the many, many men and women of goodwill. Somehow there's a connection there in the soul. We may never know each other personally at this point, but on the plane of soul we're all connected. And there are certainly many thousands, many. And actually, if truth be known, we are connected with every human being, in the body, out of the body, connected in soul. There's only one soul of humanity, and as the Tibetan has told us, and we try to realize it, there is no my soul and thy soul. There's only the one soul, the one being consciousness, and we say then the ancient second ray mantram, naught is but me. Every day we can work on making this a felt reality, helping us realize we are part of the one humanity, but more than that, we are the one humanity, and there's only one being and one consciousness present. And as it tells us in Rule 9 of the advanced rules, let the group know there are no other selves. We surely need to open our heart center to really know that is the case. We want to, together, we want to reach into the higher worlds via our Antakarana technique. We strengthen our mental unit, the group mental unit, with the 7 aspects of soul will. We are possessed by the will to initiate, the will to unify, the will to evolve, the will to harmonize, the will to act, the will to cause, and the will to express. We have these abilities. As we absorb into our group mental unit, the soul will. We want to penetrate into the higher worlds. Each one of us is building a bridge to these higher worlds. Largely a twofold bridge for each of us, of 2 qualities, 2 colors. The color of our personality ray, the color of our soul ray, as you see before you, or indigo perhaps, if we're not quite sure. We each extend that rainbow bridge from our own mental unit, a tiny little partial atom, which is part of the group mental unit. We extend our 2-colored bridge imaginatively into higher realms, where the abstract planetary mind can be touched, where the intuitive realization can be touched, where the spiritual will can be touched. Just get the feel of the colors and qualities of your own individual rainbow bridge and how it blends with all the others in the group, the 7 colors. We can visualize this something like a cone of many colors, the cone, a very esoteric shape, the shape of a vortex, leading all the way into the sense of being. being in the monad, the spirit, touching the shambolic center, and in this alignment that we have, we're going to project a line of vivid white light, each of us. We'll sound the Om as we do so, but we will think to ourselves the second ray word of power, I see the greatest light. So we'll hold our visual alignment, we'll hold the multiple colors, we'll hold the cone, we'll hold the sense of penetrating into triadal worlds and beyond, and we will sound the Om, thinking affirmatively, I see the greatest light, 3 times as we project. Om. And the greatest light, as far as we're concerned, is surely the light of the monad, which is in the field of Shambhala, the unfettered enlightenment of Shambhala. That greatest light is inherent within our higher nature, and we want to draw it down as we contemplate the energies that are now available to us through Scorpio, Pluto, Mars, Mercury. So we want to hold that alignment, anchored as it were, however you want to visualize it, but it can be as the blue-white diamond of the monad, the true jewel in the crown of the planetary logos, where, for our purposes, the greatest light resides. And all of us are subject to impression from this light and from the triadal potencies as we reach into our solar system and beyond, at least imaginatively. We want to cooperate with the great ones. Their consciousness is on the triadal levels. Naturally, they are free of the limitation of the causal body, and they can function in the 3 worlds, but they do so in a different way. So we want to express our solidarity with them. We want to offer our respect, our cooperation, our salutations, our recognition of who they are, what they intend, and we want to pledge, like all pledged disciples, we want to pledge our cooperation. So with gratitude in our heart, salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters, the teacher alike of angels and of men. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we most closely work, Master M, Master KH, Master DK, who have together made great sacrifices to bring the ageless wisdom closer to humanity. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, whose second ray ashram is largely responsible for preparing for the reappearance of the Christ. Salutations to the Master Jwal Kul, whose ashram is responsible, among other things, for the training of aspirants towards initiation. Salutations to your own Master as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet. May we learn true cooperation with them. And imaginatively we raise our thought to Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known, and with deepest reverence and in all humility, we attempt, identified together as a group soul, to attune with the presence of Sanat Kumara, standing at the very center of Shambhala. And with the purpose and will which he embodies, may his will be done through us. And we sound inwardly, silently, a long Om, imagining the group, the world servers, the men and women of goodwill, even one day all of humanity, imbued with his energy, a long, silent Om. And thus it means that we will learn to be representatives of the will of God, our planetary logos, and his emanation, Sanat Kumara. So we're in alignment. We are full of the spirit of cooperation. We are receptive to the higher energies, and now we want to approach some of these planetary, extraplanetary, extra systemic energies. We pull ourselves together, as it were. We are not personalities scattered all over the world. We are souls, and we arrive together at that mysterious something we call a point. We come together at a point. And this point has light, love, and power. It's a point of being, a point of consciousness, and together we're going to traverse the golden path, which leads into the heart of the indigo sun. The deep color of the second ray, the synthetic ray, the indigo. So the golden pathway shortens and shortens and shortens until we find ourselves, as it were, immersed imaginatively in this indigo sun. And we will be imbued by the great second ray of love wisdom, and here it is that we will find, at least imaginatively, the presence of Master DK, that great expert in planetary, extraplanetary, creative, hierarchical, cosmic energies. And as we approach in our thought these energies now available, we seek to be outposts of the consciousness of Master DK, and imbued with his understanding of these living, available energies. We will be dealing with the rulers of Scorpio, the planetary lives of Mars, the Esoteric ruler, which gives us the courage to face the outer opponent. Sometimes that is necessary. But then also Mars on a higher turn of the spiral, as the esoteric ruler, giving us the courage to struggle for the sake of a high ideal and to confront the inner opponent. Much more difficult, the dweller on the threshold. We will also turn our thought towards Mercury, the hierarchical ruler, with its disillusioning power, banishing illusion through the Buddhic understanding, bringing illumination, enlightenment, and freedom from the deception of Maya. And we will also deal with Pluto, which has been so much in the news lately. What an amazingly interesting and beautiful planet. Must signify the cleansing of humanity, which is so necessary before the first initiation. So it's a special ruler of Scorpio, conveying the power to destroy that which binds the inner consciousness to illusion, glamour, and Maya. So we will reach in our thought out to these great beings with their planetary bodies, for they are logoi, they are dragons of wisdom. They've been very much in the news lately. Mars too. Question of life, of water, closer pictures. Mars and Pluto very much in the consciousness of humanity these days through the amazing gifts of the fifth ray, which has made it possible to see. So we are together, we are supported, as it were, by the consciousness of Master DK, all he's written on esoteric astrology, immersed in that kind of knowledge. And we ponder on the power of Mars, the red planet, really the orange planet. Power of Mars in our nature. Firstly, to strengthen the will and to confront and overcome the external enemy. And then, as our psycho-spiritual maturity increases, to confront and overcome the far more deadly enemy within, inside ourselves. It's a battle for that battling kingdom, humanity. So we contemplate together this Martian will to fight to the death. All our vices, our negativity, inner and outer, until the light of day, that particular scorpionic light, shines forth. And all the lower 18 subplanes are illumined. We ponder on the inner and outer battle and the breaking forth of the light. Within our group, let us be imbued by the influence of Mars, a non-sacred planet, but can be used sacredly. Stream of energy comes in. Would it be red? Would it be rose? Would it be crimson color? The color of Scorpio itself, we are told. So into our group and our groups flow this Martian energy, doing good things, increasing our bravery, our courage, our energy, our vitality, so that we are strong enough to confront the inner and the outer enemy, overcoming it. We all need this. So let us sound the Om, imagining this happening within our individual lives and within our groups. Let us be therefore inwardly and outwardly strong, sufficiently strong to uphold our responsibilities in these very trying times. Test, trial, and triumph. So we are imbued then with this strength of Mars. We need it. But Pluto is a special ruler. We certainly have the images now, even colored images, to see the external nature of Pluto. It's very vivid now in the consciousness of humanity. It's needed for disciples to terminate all the energy patterns which suffocate the consciousness, which stultify the consciousness. It's the death of death, as it were, the power to kill that which kills the realization of the soul within the personal consciousness. Pluto connected with the scissors, the shears, the sharp shears, severing for once and for all the threads of attachment to that which is unreal. Ending illusion. We want to bring that into our lives in that way, into our groups, the death of that which kills our consciousness. So that we can be truly regenerated, born again, renewed. Another gift of Pluto. The phoenix rises out of its own ashes. We die, but we live anew under Pluto. Finally, the obstacles are destroyed. So into our groups we take this plutonic energy, very much the power of detachment and ending relationship with the unreal. So we are no longer suffocated by the unreal. We do then bring this into our lives on the sound of the Om, into our groups. The upward pointing arrow of death is the true symbol of Pluto, DK tells us. And we watch the transformation on the sound of the Om. So let us consciously be done with the limitations which have held us. And we, as it were, lose our life to find our life. We lose the present deceptive conditions and find the greater life. And then at last, Mercury, the hierarchical ruler, planet very close to the Sun, receiving, we are told, 7 times more light than the Earth. The transcendent light of Buddhi, the transcendental mind, pure reason, shining in full force upon this aggregated miasma known as the dweller on the threshold, and revealing it for what it really is, an illusory phantom, and contributing to the devitalization of the great elusive thought form, the dweller. Its unreality is understood through the light of the intuition, the light of Mercury. And we leave behind the snares of the lower serpent, of the lower dragon, enter this air. The air is God, we are told in the first formula. We enter the cosmic ethers, the Buddhic plane, and that illusion cannot thrive, cannot live in the light of Buddhi. So Mercury is not just the concrete mind, it's something much more. Even more than the abstract mind, it's the revealing intuition. The light of transcendental mind coming into our consciousness plagued by illusions that we think are real. So let us look into our lives, into our group life, and see the changes that can be brought about by this illumination. We'll see the flow of Mercury coming into our group consciousness, and we really then will begin to live in the light in which illusion cannot live. We'll finally see clearly. So we'll sound the Om, bringing into our individual and group lives this ray of Mercury, this ray of enlightenment, of transcendental mind, bringing us freedom from the struggles below. We will see them as not real. And may all of us move towards the enlightenment which awaits us That's the first true initiation, the enlightenment. And may we conquer these lower phantoms by subjecting them to the light of intuition. So, Mars for strength, Pluto to put to death that which puts our consciousness to death, leading to the transformation in the great light of transcendental mind, intuitive mind, no longer deceived by Maya, by illusion, living in the light of Mercury. Master DK is so much Mercury. And these are the energies of planetary gods, now more intensely available than at other times. And as we approach the full moon and as we distribute what we may receive, we are in cooperation with these planetary rays, which are very real. We have to feel them in our energy system, feel them in our groups, and somehow pass them on to others wisely. Beyond all these planets is the great solar logos of love wisdom. And monadically we are all units within the sun. We are that which finds its place within the sun, he tells us. Always the sun is shining, even if we don't see it, because polarity, duality has brought the night. But the sun of love wisdom shines, and it stimulates our 12-fold monad, our 12-fold egoic lotus, our 12-fold heart in the head, our 12-fold heart center. It's a great heart center in a cosmic logos, and it stimulates our heart. The consuming fire of love, we're in that. No matter what our ray, we are units within this solar logos, who is a heart center. And beyond our solar system lies the constellation Scorpio. It's a brilliant constellation. Some of the stars are very far away, 1,000, 2,000 light years away. The great super giant Antares is there. Immense star. Great potency, helping us overcome lower Mars, lower Aries. The light of Scorpio, the constellation Scorpio, the light of day. This is the place, says the Tibetan, where three lights meet. It's a triple sign after all, the light of form, the light of soul, and the light of life. They meet, they blend, they rise. Very phoenix-like, the rising, the eagle. not all constellational logoi are equally evolved, and I think Scorpio is very highly evolved constellational logos. The light of day. Day is found on the Buddhic plane. We as monads, we focus particularly on the Buddhic plane, the fourth creative hierarchy of monads. We are focused in the light of day. We rise out of illusion into the light of day. So we open ourselves to the feel of the energy quality of Scorpio, attempting to realize its profound relationship to the fourth ray of harmony through conflict, and of course then to ourselves, the fourth creative hierarchy, Scorpio, is our monadic sign. If we consider ourselves as a creative hierarchy of monads. And thus do we struggle, and thus do we at length overcome. And there is that constellation before us, sometimes called Scorpius. Through these stars, a great, great constellational logos, the Lord of the constellation Scorpio, expresses. And so now, in the silence, we will ponder the mantram which we will hold in our minds during the coming days, and as we distribute the energy with the plan. Warrior, I am. And from the battle, I emerge triumphant. What does it mean to you individually, to your group or groups? What does it mean to humanity as a whole? Warrior, I am. And from the battle, I emerge triumphant. Warrior, I am. And from the battle, I emerge triumphant. Maybe we can succeed in some particular way during these coming days. Maybe our groups can be strengthened. Maybe humanity as a whole can rise to the occasion in some specific way, demonstrating spiritual strength and understanding in a higher light. So keep this mantra very close to you now. Repeat it many times a day as we approach the full moon and following, and see what it is you have to overcome, rise above, triumph over. To make yourself an ever more fit disciple, and your groups ever more discipleship groups. And humanity itself is called by DK the world disciple. We're still very much in the Scorpio experience, which will, I suspect, intensify before it subsides. Warrior, I am. And from the battle I emerge triumphant. from the one about whom naught may be said, for us, the very center of the cluster of the Pleiades and the immense logos that rules over that, and all subsidiary constellations, through the constellations Scorpio or Scorpius, and into the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one, particularly connected with Scorpio, and into our solar system, the heart center of that 7 solar systems, and to the planets Mars and Pluto and Mercury, and into Shambhala under the law of assembly affecting all monads, our very highest aspect, and into Christ's hierarchy affecting all souls, and into all personalities, our own, affecting the related chakras, certainly the solar plexus, the base of the spine are involved, and then the higher chakras within the head. The tide of life sweeps from the highest to the lowest, and we want to stay in alignment with these energies as we approach the moment of opportunity and as we carry our impression into our daily lives, no matter what the circumstances may be. The scorpionic energy of triumph is so needed, not the negative Scorpio, the world is covered by it, but somewhere in the world is something that has to be improved, worked out. Something where human beings have to rise above the Maya, glamour, and illusion of the present situation. So focus in an area that you think needs redemption. This is a great sign of redemption. Focus in such an area. And see what has to happen. And on the sound of the Om, we will bring in that scorpionic energy, the energy of its major ray, harmony through conflict. We will bring in the courage of Mars and the transformative power of Pluto and the illuminative power of Mercury. We'll bring it in and we'll see the change happen 3 times on the sound of the Om. And we will hold the transformational vision during these days. The meditations can have a powerful effect as they transmit these available energies. And we will close our meditation with the great word of power released when the Christ decided that he would actually appear physically as the world teacher of the Aquarian age. We're in very stressful, conflicted times, pregnant with possibility for great good or great evil. We have to stand firm together in the light of the great invocation, which gives the formula of what is needed: the light, the love, the power of the sacrificial will. So together, where you are, we sound aloud the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Okay, friends, we move towards the actual full moon at 12:05:05 tomorrow in GMT time, and we have our broadcast, exact full moon broadcast beginning, which Tuya will lead, and with music and imagery and meditation service, and inside your chat box you have the link for that, which you can copy if you don't have it already. Thank you very much for being here for this pre-full moon webinar, getting us warmed up, I would say, towards the actual moment. It's really an important full moon, the Scorpio full moon, and may the triumph that is promised in Scorpio be yours, be ours, be for all humanity. May we take a step forward in victory together. Thank you, and we will be sending this the link out to you if you want to use this meditation for any purposes during this time. So good night and thank you, and have a wonderful exact full moon meditation wherever you may do it. If with us, great, and if with your own groups, great, and may a very powerful impression of strength and illumination and triumph come to you. Okay? Bye-bye.